A U.S. aircraft carrier is not just a ship. It's a symbol of power. The world has built countless weapons designed to kill ships. Long-range missiles, anti-ship missiles, submarines, and a new generation of strategic bombers. On paper, an aircraft carrier looks like a massive prize sitting out in the open ocean. So here's the question. In modern conflicts, why has almost no one dared to attack a U.S. carrier? Or even move close enough to credibly posture against it? In this episode, we're going to break it down clearly. Is a carrier really easy prey for any power willing to strike? Or is it protected in a way that makes the approach itself a gamble? If an attack did succeed, how big would the damage be for the United States militarily, politically, and in terms of deterrence? And most important, what is the price a nation pays the moment it presses that button against a U.S. aircraft carrier? Let's begin. Mathematics and geography. A vast ocean, a moving target, and the circle of uncertainty. If you look at an aircraft carrier as a giant target, you assume it's easy to hit. But naval warfare doesn't run on feelings. It runs on math and geography. The ocean is an enormous void, and a U.S. carrier never sits still. It moves above 30 knots, roughly 35 miles an hour. Give it 30 minutes, and it's no longer where you last saw it. Here's the problem. An attack is not a single action. It's a chain you can't skip. Detect the target. Confirm it's the target. Push data to command. Issue the order. Prepare the launch. Launch the weapon. Then the weapon still has to fly to the battle space. And while you're doing all that, the carrier keeps moving. That's not an accident. U.S. carriers move to expand the circle of uncertainty. First, physics. To throw a 60,000-pound fighter off a short deck, the ship has to make its own weather. It drives into the wind to build launch airspeed. Second, survival. A stationary target is a dead target. With nuclear power that doesn't tap out, a U.S. carrier can run hard day after day, turning the ocean into a chessboard where the king never stays on the same square for long. That's why seeing it once is worthless. You need real-time updates, continuous track, fresh data non-stop. Without that, even the most advanced missile is just flying to where the carrier used to be. At this point, people ask the obvious. What about satellites? Satellites are powerful, but they're not a 24/7 live camera parked exactly where you want it. They have orbits. They have revisit windows. Some sensors have weather limits. And even when you get the image, you still have to turn it into a tactical decision. That means latency, delay. So you push other sensors forward. Recon aircraft, submarines, long-range radar, layer after layer, trying to hold the track. But there's a price. To see clearly, you have to get closer. And the closer your eyes get, the higher the risk. Because now you're entering the zone where a carrier strike group can detect you and hunt you. To attack a U.S. carrier, you have to solve the circle of uncertainty. You need data that's fast enough, clean enough, and continuous enough to turn a moving target into a point you can actually hit. And the moment you try to get that level of certainty, you run into the next layer. Invisible.
relentless. Electronic warfare. The layer that makes your picture untrustworthy and turns every lock into a gamble.
Electronic warfare, the invisible layer that blinds the attacker. In war, people fear what they can hear and see. The roar of jets, the crack of gunfire, the ground shaking under impact. But around a U.S. carrier strike group, the real fight starts in total silence. Before the first weapon is even launched, a different battle is already underway. A battle moving at the speed of light, the electromagnetic spectrum. It starts with passive defense, the Navy's shipboard electronic warfare suite, the ANSL Q-32, often called Slick 32, and its modern upgrades under SIP-WIP. These systems sit on most major U.S. warships. If the enemy radar is a flashlight, Slick 32 is the eye that can see that beam from beyond the horizon. And here's the first rule of electronic warfare. If you radiate first, you expose yourself first. The moment an enemy radar lights up to look for a carrier, it's basically shouting, "Here I am." Slick 32 catches that emission immediately. It analyzes the frequency, compares it to a threat library, and tells the watch team what it is. Civilian surface search radar, or a fire control radar guiding a supersonic cruise missile. Once the threat is confirmed, the posture shifts from listening to fighting. Active jamming. High power energy is pushed into the enemy's receivers, degrading their picture and breaking their confidence. On the attacker's scope, the world collapses into noise, a whiteout, a smear of static where targets used to be. But blinding the enemy is only step one. To survive, you don't just want them blind, you want them wrong. That's where the U.S. Navy plays a trump card, the EA-18G Growler. It doesn't carry bombs, it carries chaos. Growler doesn't just block signals, it uses digital radio frequency memory, DRFM. In plain terms, it records the enemy's radar, distorts it, and tracks it right back at them. The result is deception. Not just a fog of noise, but a battlefield of false certainty. On the enemy display, they don't see nothing. They see targets. Too many targets. Ghost contacts, phantom formations, a hall of mirrors over open water. Is that the carrier or a decoy? Is that the real track or a trap? And now the enemy fire control officer is caught in paralysis. If he shoots, there's a high chance he shoots at a lie. If he hesitates, he loses the window. And in modern warfare, 30 seconds of hesitation is a lifetime. Because while he's arguing with his own screen, U.S. weapons can be moving the other way, homing on emissions, hunting the source. Now let's go to the worst case. Say the attacker gets lucky. Say they find a gap. Say a carrier killer missile actually holds a lock and comes screaming in at Mach 3. That's when the carrier performs its final move, a cold technique called seduction. The ship launches Nulka decoys and fires chaff, metallic clouds designed to confuse seekers. Nulka isn't an interceptor. It's a hovering decoy that broadcasts a signature brighter, bigger, and more appetizing than the ship itself. Missile seekers don't have pride. They have programming. They chase the strongest signal. So in the final seconds, the missile breaks toward the decoy. It ignores the cold steel beneath it and commits to the brighter target. Boom! A detonation in the sky, and the carrier below keeps moving. But here's the real question. What if the enemy doesn't just fire one missile from long range?
what if they commit real mass? Aircraft pressing in overhead, submarines closing underneath. A coordinated strike designed to hit from every direction at once.
The Steel Dome, the layered defense that turns a strike into a slaughter. Let's stop dealing in one-off hypotheticals. Let's talk about the scenario every U.S. admiral plans for and drills for day after day. A saturation attack. The enemy doesn't fire one missile. They fire everything. Land-based ballistic missiles arcing down from altitude. Bomber regiments launching cruise missiles from standoff range. Submarines pushing in underwater, trying to break the screen and finish the job with torpedoes. The goal is simple. Overload the defense, bleed it dry, force the U.S. to run out of shots. But a carrier strike group isn't built to run from that storm. It's built to swallow it. The instant those threats appear, human command doesn't disappear, but it steps back a half pace. Aegis steps forward. Automated tracks, rapid classification, engagement priorities in fractions of a second. The Steel Dome starts to close. The first layer starts far from the carrier, hundreds of miles out. Up high, the E-2D Hawkeye is conducting a lethal symphony. It sees the archers before the arrows are even loose. And the order goes out: kill the archer. Why wait to intercept the missile when you can shoot down the platform launching it? F-35Cs and Super Hornets surge forward. AIM-120 shots go long. The fight happens beyond visual range. Enemy aircraft start dying before they ever lay eyes on the fleet. That's the outer shield. Reduce the number of arrows in the air. But ballistic missiles and supersonic threats still push through. Now, the bodyguards step in. Ticonderoga-class cruisers and Arleigh Burke destroyers form the hard wall. Aegis links every ship into one network. One ship sees the track, another can take the shot. VLS hatches snap open. SM-3 interceptors climb hard to meet ballistic missiles on the way in. SM-6 goes out to hunt low-flying cruise missiles trying to skim the sea. The sky turns into controlled chaos. But it's not random. Computers solve collision geometry at machine speed. If one escort is Winchester, out of missiles, another ship picks up the engagement. Layered fires, shared tracks. A wall of probability so brutal that getting through is measured in single digits. And while the sky is burning, a colder war is happening below. Enemy submarines are trying to slip into torpedo range. The strike group answers with ASW, anti-submarine warfare. MH-60R Seahawks skim the surface, dropping sonar buoys. Passive listening, searching for propeller noise, flow noise, the subtle signatures of metal and machinery under pressure. The moment something doesn't belong, lightweight torpedoes go in the water. And the most dangerous piece is the one you won't see. A U.S. attack submarine, Virginia-class or Los Angeles-class, the invisible killer running deep alongside the king. Its job is simple: hunt any submarine that gets close enough to threaten the carrier. Down there are no warnings, just a sudden crush of pressure and a shockwave that ends the contact. Now, worst case. A few missiles leak through every layer. They're inbound at Mach 3, seconds to impact. That's when point defense takes over. ESSM and RAM launch in tight.
Short-range, high-agility interceptors built to turn hard and kill fast inside a few miles. And if something still survives, the last monster wakes up. Phalanx Sea-Whiz, a fully automatic 20mm rotary cannon. Its radar locks, and it pours fire at roughly 4,500 rounds a minute. Even if fragments keep coming on momentum, the mission is to detonate the warhead early or shred the body to reduce damage. Turn a killing blow into a manageable wound. That's how a carrier strike group survives. Not with luck. With layers, overlapping coverage, systems backing up systems. Like a Swiss watch, loaded with explosives. To touch the carrier's skin, the enemy has to step over the wreckage of aircraft, missiles, and submarines that died protecting it. And even then, if a hit still gets through, if steel is finally struck, the next chapter is the one most people don't want to imagine. A carrier can be hurt, but sinking it and surviving what comes next are two very different wars. Survivability, built to take the hit and stay in the fight. Picture the moment. One missile leaks through the Aegis fires. A blast tears the sky open. Flames climb across the flight deck of USS Gerald R. Ford. A column of black smoke rises in the middle because you didn't fire at a boat. You fired at a 100,000-ton floating city, forged from the best steel the United States can produce. A fortress engineered to absorb punishment. The first secret is the structure. Beneath that armored skin is not empty space. It's a massive honeycomb, thousands of watertight compartments. The instant the blast happens, the ship goes into damage control mode. Systems trigger, sailors move, heavy steel doors slam shut. Flooding starts, it gets stopped. Fire spreads, it gets boxed in. Oxygen gets cut. The ship can list, it can burn, but it refuses to sink. And the second secret is more important than steel. Blood. 5,000 sailors. The U.S. Navy doesn't just train fighters, it trains some of the best shipboard firefighters on Earth. Their mindset is simple. Don't give up the ship. They're guided by hard lessons bought in fire, including disasters like USS Forrestal in 1967. To them, fire is not an accident. Fire is an enemy, and enemies get beaten. Now this is where the situation flips, brutally, for the attacker. Put yourself in the enemy commander's seat. You watch through optics, the smoke thins, and there it is, still afloat, wounded, blackened, angry, and worse. Aircraft are still launching off the remaining deck. That's the moment you realize you didn't kill it. You struck an American symbol, and it stayed alive. You didn't create surrender. You created a second Pearl Harbor. That burning image doesn't make Washington fold. It does the opposite. It welds the country together. It wipes away political limits. It hands the president a blank check to unleash American military power. What you thought was a tactical win becomes the trigger for something you can't control. And now you face an impossible choice. If you want to truly sink it, you have to hit it again. Second wave, third wave, full commitment. But the surprise is gone. The entire strike group is hunting you.
Satellites are staring at the ocean for your launch points. Fighters are already moving with weapons armed. Submarines are cutting angles. Escorts are tightening the grid. The moment you raise your hand for the finishing blow, you expose your own throat. A lightning strike turns into a war of attrition. And that is a war you don't get to win. That's why strategists call the carrier a floating trap. Hitting it can be the easy part. The space between hit and sink, that's the graveyard where ambitions go to die. So the final question isn't who has the fastest missile, it's who is willing to pay the highest price after the explosion ends. Now we go to the last section. The price of ashes. There's a basic truth every plan to strike a U.S. aircraft carrier eventually crashes into. Don't look at it as a ship. Don't look at it as 100,000 tons of steel and aircraft. In the strategic thinking of the White House and the Pentagon, a carrier is U.S. territory. It flies the American flag. It operates under American law. It is a piece of the United States moving across the ocean. So the moment a missile touches that hull, it's not just a military incident. It's an act of invasion. The political weight is closer to bombing American soil than it is to sinking a warship. And once that red line is crossed, diplomacy gets thrown in the trash. No more talks. No more statements. No more warnings. The event flips into a mandatory state. Overwhelming force. In the first minutes after the blast, a switch flips in Washington. They don't waste time debating who meant what. They act on the worst-case assumption, because they don't know if it was a single shot or the opening move of a much larger war. So the one rule is simple: do not be late. The posture shifts from patrol to hunt and destroy. Aegis coverage expands to maximum. Every unknown airborne object inside a wide radius is treated as hostile until proven otherwise. Under the surface, U.S. attack submarines get new orders. They stop playing hide and seek. They cut off exits. They hunt launch platforms. They turn the water into a kill zone. And the attacker discovers something terrifying. They didn't just anger a ship. They triggered a ruthless immune system. But the real nightmare is this: the United States does not fight alone, and it does not strike once. If one carrier strike group is hit, the Pentagon starts building the vice. Other carriers and strike forces shift course. From Japan, from the Middle East, from the Pacific, the geometry changes fast. The attacker doesn't face one carrier. They face two or three, and the firepower doesn't come only from the sea. From strategic air bases, the long-range bombers launch. Stealth platforms built to cross oceans and arrive without warning. And tomahawks follow. Not one or two, hundreds, then thousands, from multiple directions. This isn't you hit me, I hit you. This is battle space dominance. The U.S. doesn't only target ships. It targets your nervous system, radar sites, command centers, stockpiles, launch infrastructure, military ports, airfields. Strike deep, strike repeatedly. Strike at a tempo the enemy command structure cannot match. The objective is simple: paralyze the ability to give orders. But missiles and bombs are only half the pain. The other half is quieter and more brutal. Blockade. The U.S. Navy holds keys to the world's oceans. Choke points, sea lanes, maritime insurance, the flow of fuel and food. With an order, trade routes become an economic minefield. Tankers stop coming. Container traffic freezes. Maritime insurance spikes. And when energy is squeezed, when supplies thin out, the attacker's economy begins to suffocate week by week. The war stops being something out at sea. It shows up at gas stations, in supermarkets, at the dinner table. Markets crash. Pressure builds. Instability spreads. The United States doesn't need to invade your land. It can wait while your system collapses from exhaustion. And then there's the final layer: allies and the nuclear shadow. A U.S. carrier is not just American power. It's the credibility of a global alliance system. Tokyo, Seoul, Canberra, London, NATO. When one link is attacked, the whole network moves. The attacker realizes they're not fighting one nation. They're fighting an economic and military ecosystem. And above it all hangs the most dangerous weapon of all: uncertainty. When a strategic asset is struck, escalation thresholds blur. No one can be sure where the United States will stop, and that not knowing is the ultimate deterrent. So the conclusion of this episode isn't a technical question. Not, can you hit it? It's the question every chief of staff has to swallow hard before giving the order. Can we survive after we hit it? Because the moment you touch American territory in the middle of the ocean, you don't start a battle. You start a chain reaction you no longer control. The price won't be measured by one ship on fire. It will be measured in your fleet, your economy, years of national progress erased. And at the edge of it all, the survival of the regime you claim you're protecting. The cruelest part of modern war isn't death. It's the strategic debt the loser keeps paying, long after the smoke clears. This is Future War Tech. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.